This book says it happened in 1942 instead of 1941. One text says Ronald Reagan's presidency extended into 1990. Another says Lyndon Johnson invited Barbara Jordan to the White House in 1972 to discuss civil rights. One problem, LBJ left the White House in 1969. One book says Napoleon actually won the Battle of Waterloo. Another says the Korean War ended when President Truman dropped the atom bomb.
I just couldn't believe that this type of material would get to that stage in the textbook without some check and balances.
One publisher claims the errors exist only in teacher's editions. The publisher says his company is doing all it can to correct the errors.
Those are indefensible mistakes. But again, I would urge people to think about it in the context of a very, very large picture. Thousands of pages, many, many steps. Those are indefensible. They'll be fixed.
The citizens of the state are outraged. And, you know, we have confidence in our textbooks, and they are demanding that we not approve these.
Education board members may delay adoption of the books until January. One board member calls for heavy fines and a possible ban on bids from publishers who don't get their facts straight. Mike Capps, CNN, Dallas.
So from now on, when we're wrong, we'll just complain our textbooks are wrong, right?
That's right. We'll blame the textbooks.
That's right. Sports is up next on the 10 o'clock news. Jeff will have the day's highlights and all of the scores.
And some big high school postseason matchups. All the highlights coming up in just a moment. Stay with us.
Italian, look at what we got.
Hamburger Helper's zesty Italian and cheesy Italian.
Two great flavors that really hit the spot.
Mix your hamburger with real Italian pasta, tangy tomato sauce, and authentic seasoning.
Just to take a bite, you're gonna like them both a lot.
With lasagna and spaghetti, now there are 4 delicious Italian flavors.
Hamburger Helper makes a great Italian meal.
If you have never seen a rodeo, you might as well start with the best. It's great family entertainment with lots of clown activity and special pageantry reflecting the history of the American West. Magnificent Texas Longhorn Stampede at the Longhorn Rodeo in the brand new CSU Convocation Center in downtown Cleveland. Friday is bargain night, all seats $9. Saturday, free trick rope from Sun Newspaper's first 500 kids. Sunday, kids and seniors half price at WGAR and Convenient Food Mart Family Day. This Friday through Sunday.
Of course, you want plenty of room and comfort. Anti-lock brakes, an airbag, advanced engineering. Well, how about the most room in its class? Optional anti-lock brakes with traction assist. Not one, but 2 available airbags. And a modular V8, the most advanced engine in its class. Introducing the new for '92 Ford Crown Victoria, starting at around $20,000 at your Northeast Ohio Ford dealer.
They say you have to be a rocket scientist to understand audio equipment these days. Well, I am a rocket scientist, and I don't understand it either. But I do know that B&B Appliance helped me put together a system that sounds just great. And one of my friends was actually impressed that I'd know enough to put together a system this good. I said, hey, any rocket scientist could do it. B&B Appliance, where you get the best price and more audio for your money.
All right, quite a return home for a Browns alumnus. I hear he's put together quite a defense.
It was kind of there when he got there because of Buddy Ryan, but Bud Carson has really kind of tuned him up a little bit, don't you think?
I think so.
These guys are playing well. It officially became the Bud Bowl at about 5 o'clock this afternoon. The Philadelphia Eagles buses pulled up to the Stouffer's Tower City Plaza, and out came former Browns coach Bud Carson. He's now the Eagles defensive coordinator, looking good. Bud didn't want to talk to us. You can't blame him for that. The last time he said anything about the Browns, it cost him hundreds of thousands of dollars. But he's still trying to get that back from the Browns. Good luck on that one, Bud. Bud doesn't have to say much these days, though. He is coaching the #1 ranked defense in the entire NFL. And that defense will have a little bit extra challenge tomorrow. See him get after Jeff Hostetler last week. Will they be able to get after Bernie Kosar tomorrow? We don't know. He's just 1 pass away from tying Bart Starr's record for consecutive passes without an interception. If Bernie's first 2 passes aren't intercepted, he'll set the new record. Starr set his record, 294 straight passes in 1964 and 65.
And not to take anything away from Bart, who obviously was a tremendous quarterback, and he did what he had to do at that time. But in the last 25 years or so, that, you know, the number of different coverages and the emphasis on the passing game, and I mean, it's tough to keep the ball away from the defense. And
and it's hard to compare, you know, one era to another. But you know, Bernie certainly has a remarkable streak going, no question about that.
The Browns and the Eagles both have 4-5 records. The Eagles, though, are 2-point favorites. 2 years ago, when Ohio State played Minnesota in the Metrodome, the Gophers had a 31-0 lead and still ended up losing. So you can understand why the Buckeyes were kind of confident today. They hadn't lost to Minnesota since 1981, but they were down 3-0 after the first quarter. That changed in the second. Scotty Graham hits some Gophers, gets into the end zone anyway. 7-3 Ohio State. On the kickoff, Darren White gets it for Minnesota at the 8, runs right to the Buckeyes, and there's the fumble. Buckeyes recovered at the 24-yard line. 6 plays later, they scored the touchdown. Carlos Snow gets an easy one. Bounces out to the left side, and that's in from a yard out. 14-3, Ohio State had the lead. Still in the second quarter, Buckeyes with one more. Jeff Cothran right through the Gophers for 5 yards in the score. Buckeyes with 3 touchdowns in the second quarter, and they led it 21-3 at halftime. In the third quarter, Kirk Herbstreit, a quarterback, runs the option, and look at this. Does he pitch? Nope, he keeps it. Runs into some Gophers here, and here's fine fundamental football tackling by Minnesota. That's not good. 72 yards in the touchdown run for Herbstreit, and the Buckeyes with a fun day in the Dome. They win it. 35-6 is the final score. Michigan had an even easier game against Northwestern. It's Elvis Gerbach over to Desmond Howard. Watch them go. Just busts through everybody, takes off. He's scoring touchdown after touchdown, gets another one here. 64 yards on the play. That made it 7-0. Michigan out on top. Ricky Powers from Akron Buchtel scored 1-2 coming up here. And Michigan with an easy time. 59-14. They're a winner over Northwestern. This is Mike Saunders of Iowa. He holds up 4 fingers. It's 1 for each touchdown he scored against Indiana. Here comes the 4th one. He bounces outside. Will go in from 7 yards out for the touchdown. That made it 38-9 Iowa. Indiana with a little bit of a rally late, but not enough. 38-21. Iowa gets the win over Indiana. They were tied for second place in the Big Ten, so Iowa is now all alone in second place in the Big Ten at 5-1. 1 game behind Michigan. Indiana, Ohio State, and Illinois are all tied for 3rd in the conference with 4-2 records. Notre Dame had a 24-point lead over Tennessee late in the first half today, 31-7. But in the fourth quarter, Andy Kelly for the Vols to Aaron Hayden, 26 yards on a touchdown, and Tennessee came back to take the lead 35-34. Seconds left in the game, Notre Dame with a chance, blocked on the field goal. The kicker was Rob Leonard, a walk-on. Their kicker got hurt. He had to go in, didn't make it. Tennessee wins in South Bend with a great comeback, 35-34. Pete Cordelli's Kent State Golden Flashes were only down 14-7 here to the MAC champions, Bowling Green at halftime. But in the third quarter, Eric White rolls out for the Falcons. Way too much time, and that let him find Ronnie Redd, 7 yards in the touchdown. It was 21-7. Later in the third, after a blocked punt on a 4th and 2, Falcons throw for it. Get the first down and a touchdown. White to Mark Slachek for 18 yards. That made it 28-7. BG wins 35-7. The Flashes are now 1-9. 7 local Division I teams had their first-round playoff games tonight. David Bacon is at the high school sports desk to show us what happened there. Dave, Jeff, some good ones, too, weren't there?
There were, Jeff. We have 5 of the 7 local teams, the big boys like St. Ignatius, Berea, Lakewood, and Barberton, and the little guys, a Division V game. But first, let's go out to Menor Stadium. The Euclid band was all fired up, and it was Euclid against Berea. Euclid led 14-7. Berea drives it down to the 1, and Dan Britton knows how to get into the end zone. Second effort there gets him in. The Braves missed the extra point, though, so it's 14-13. Euclid still leads. Stayed that way till the fourth quarter. Euclid to punt, a bad snap. Kevin Bramer's knee hits the ground. The ball is turned over to Berea on the 23 right there. A tough break. The Braves drive it down to the 1, and then Euclid gets tough. It's 4th and 1 here, down by a point. Berea decides to go for it, and Dan Britton gets a close one. They give him the touchdown. Berea upsets previously unbeaten Euclid. 21-14 is the score. Berea moves on. Another Division I game, St. Ignatius against Lakewood in Berea. It's playoff time, so the Wildcats are getting feisty. Third quarter, John Stolzer with the punt for Lakewood, and it's a nice one. Look at the hang time on that one. Very good kick. Jack Malloy takes it for the Wildcats, though. Loses 2 defenders, picks up a block, squirts through the hole. Look at him go. Uses the stiff arm there on the punter to get in. A 75-yard punt and all for punt return for Jack Malloy. That gave Ignatius a 28-0 lead. Kevin Mayer was 16 of 34 for 236 yards. Here he hooks up with Joe Lewandowski. Lewandowski with 6 catches for 140 yards. St. Ignatius advances with a 34-0 win over Lakewood. Division I again at Barberton, or at Brunswick, an Akron area team. Barberton against Toledo St. John's. The whole family's bundled up. It was a cold night. This is Barberton. Scott Loeffler rolls out with a nice little pump fake here, and then he delivers it. And Sean McNulty catches that, and look at him keep his legs in bounds. Great effort. He only needed 1. He kept both of them in. Barberton led 7-0 at that point. Toledo St. John's came back, though, with 10 unanswered points. And the Titans from Toledo St. John beat the Barberton Magics 10-17, or 10-7. They move on. And finally, Game 5, Sandusky St. Mary's against Fairport Harding, Division 5. This one in Berea in the afternoon. The cheerleaders were trying to stay warm. Second quarter, St. Mary's 3rd and goal from the 5. Brett Bilgen hits Gary Schaefer for the touchdown. Panthers missed the extra point. 6-0 St. Mary's. Stayed that way till the 4th quarter. Chad Underwood for Harding throws, and it's deflected by Schaefer again. Jason Samston grabs it. Look at the stadium shaking there. He goes in for the touchdown. Panthers add another late touchdown. St. Mary's moves on with a 20-0 win over Fairport Harding. Jeff, Fairport Harding had shutouts in their 5 previous games, so it was a little strange for them to be scored on. And with Berea upsetting Euclid, another one of those St. Ignatius-Euclid matchups that were so famous 2 years ago with Joe Pickens and Robert Smith, it just won't happen.
We won't see it. Okay, Dave, thank you very much. Well, if you've seen any of the Cavaliers' first 5 games this season, you've probably seen something that's a little bit different. The reason? Brad Doherty has kind of expanded his game a bit. Watch here against the Rockets Thursday night. Brad out by the 3-point line. Lets it fly, and that's perfect. Brad Doherty now has an outside jump shot.
Yeah, I shot a lot with my wife this summer. She was pregnant, so I'd make her stay stationary on the basket and rebound. She didn't have any excuses to shoot, so I got to shoot all the time. But no, I just shot a lot of jump shots, really worked on that. I feel like my inside game's pretty strong, and if I can complement it with a good little outside shot every once in a while to make them play me honest, just make us a better team.
You couldn't make her run around, so you had to make them.
Exactly right. So I had to hit all of them because she couldn't chase the ball down.
That's no problem now. He has Brad Jr. to do all the rebounding. Cavaliers went 1-4 on their 5-game Western road trip to open the season. Their first home game is Tuesday at the Coliseum against Milwaukee. Well, the New Jersey Nets spent a lot of money on that guy, number 2 pick Kenny Anderson, and he was in uniform for the first time tonight against Detroit. Wearing number 7, has the ball out top, comes around a little pick, and that's his first NBA jump shot. Not bad, huh? But the Nets were down by 15 when he hit it. Big deal. Out top for Detroit, Joe Dumars comes around a Bill Laimbeer pick against Chris Dudley. Chris kind of fouls him, and Dumars gets it anyway. Pistons win in New Jersey, 110-100. The Miami Heat in Atlanta against the Hawks tonight, starting lots of new players. Ramil Robinson here gets the steal against Glenn Rice, his former college buddy. Gets the break, and then he gets the layup. Hawks were up by 15. Kevin Lockery just having a blast coaching the Heat. That's fun. Kevin Edwards misses from St. Joe's right there. John Concat gets the rebound to Snoopy Graham from Ohio U to Dominique Wilkins. Nice pass. Dominique had 34, and the Hawks win it. 97-93 is the final. Just going into the 4th quarter, the Bulls have a 20-point lead over Orlando. Gerald Wilkins had 28. Knicks are a winner. 118-113 over Charlotte. Golden State Warriors are now 5-1. They beat Washington in Washington. At halftime, Houston has the lead over Phoenix, and Dallas 47-43 at halftime over Milwaukee. Tomorrow night after the 10 o'clock news, we'll have even more sports with George Michael and the Sports Machine. That starts at 11 o'clock. But starting right now, sports cliches of the week, not so insightful comments that you've probably heard before from people in the world of sports. We start with Browns head coach Bill Belichick. On Sunday's loss to the Bengals in Cincinnati, the Bengals hadn't won a game all year until this one.
We expected a tough game down there, and we have a lot of respect for the Bengals, and I think they have a pretty good football team.
Translation? Gee, if I thought the Bengals could actually beat us, I wouldn't have accused Sam Weiss of spying until after the game. Next, it's Browns center Mike Babb. There he is.
Really?
Yep, there he is. On what the Browns have to do to forget about the loss to the Bengals and to get ready for the Eagles tomorrow at the stadium.
I'm sure that Bill Belichick will do whatever's necessary out of his little coaching notebooks to get us right back on track.
What Mike's really thinking, if I ever see those stupid notebooks sitting around, I'm going to rip them into big, jagged chunks and cram them down Bill's throat. And finally, it's Eagles defensive back Wes Hopkins. On tomorrow's game and the return of former Browns head coach Bud Carson, he's now the Eagles defensive coordinator, and he's smiling now.
We can tell it's extremely important to him as it is important to us. So we're definitely going to do everything in our power to make sure we come back with a victory and have a great game on defense.
Translation, I hope I'm the lucky Eagle who can pick up that $10,000 bounty that Bud's put on Bernie Kosar's head. It's going to get nasty tomorrow. You can believe it. There you have it. Sports cliches for another week. Now tonight's scoreboard.